Hi, Rebekah.
Hello.
I'm so glad we finally coordinated this chat together.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so
Of
excited.
course. I'm so excited to have you and just to share. And you're based in Connecticut.
We
I
are. We left the city during COVID and landed in Fairfield, Connecticut, because there's a beach 15 minutes from my house. So how do you say no to that?
yeah. How's city life? From city life to the beach life. That's not too bad, right?
It's a little drastic, but we are slowly adjusting to having a ton more space, nature at our fingertips, and
Yeah.
and a lovely community that we found ourselves in. So it was a good move.
Wow. Well, I'm so happy. I'm really grateful I got to meet you back in like 20. I was going back. It's 2016. I want to say like in the fall. And I wish I had discovered your group sooner. I got connected to you through a mutual friend, Carlin, and probably around the transfer time. And tell me, do we have the same transfer date, January 19th?
It was the same date. Yep. And it
January
was
19th. I mean, what are the chances of that? I was like, I got connected right before like that transfer time to you. And you created an amazing group, which I'll have you share in a bit. So incredibly supportive for women going through fertility challenges. It's so needed. And yeah, I would love for you to share your background and kind of just a little bit of your, well, we'll get into your story too, but just wherever you'd like to begin.
yeah,
Sure.
happy to, yeah, and feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions. I'll just kind of share the story to
Yeah.
why we met, how we met, and the connection.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so really, I guess this chapter of my life, or this version of the story, it started, I guess, I started going through fertility. I found that I was going to need support through my pregnancy journey back in 2014, 2015, when I had an HSG, where they basically like hold you down on a table with like metal claws. They have you move around so they can check your cervix. And it's this most archaic, horrific, antiquated system. This old guy was like, nah, you're fine. You're fine. I'm like, oh, am I fine? Really? You're telling me I'm fine? Thanks, dude. Uh, so it started there. And I realized that I did not have support. I did not have a community, and there were really no resources at the time to connect with other people who were going through a similar journey as I was.
Yeah.
A couple of friends were going through, but I always like having a sounding board and
Yeah.
resources, and more than a person or two. I like having a deep network. And so when I went to find out how to get support and I realized there was none, I thought, all right, well, then I guess I should create an opportunity for people to have a place to connect with other people. So I started Warriors in 2016, 2015, 20. I guess I was pregnant with my first, Harper, who was
Mhm.
born in 2016. And it was right around that time that I realized that there was no support. So
Mhm.
I started Warriors back then.
Were you
And
like on Instagram then? Was it like a thing? Because the fertility community was not really
no,
what
no,
it is now.
yeah, this started as a Facebook group,
Yep.
and it quickly became a New York City centric Facebook group at the very
Mm.
beginning. At the outset of, it was really for people. It was just because that was my community, the
Yeah.
people in the city, to connect with other people, to talk
Mhm.
about clinics, to talk about doctors, to talk about anything and everything.
Yeah.
Um, but then the group quickly became a recognized. I actually got a request this morning, and somebody said, I saw the referral on Reddit, and she was in like Asia, somewhere in Asia. So it has become
Wow.
a global support group, and it's really just peer, not just, it is entirely support for peers and people going through a similar journey, either people who've done it already or people who are on their journey now. And so there's kind of mentors, and people becomes friends, and they connect, and it's really
Yeah.
everything for everybody that needs it.
Yeah. It's
Um,
incredible.
it was wonderful. Yeah, I started in 2016, and then a ton of people joined for my next when I had the
Mhm.
twins. That was
Mhm.
our transfer date was the same. A lot more people joined in 2017, 2018, and then it's continued. Every day I probably have 10 to 15 requests to join still. Um,
Wow. And
and
you have
yeah, I think
multiple
some people
groups, I
drop off.
know.
Yeah, Warriors was the first one, and then I realized that once you got pregnant, you're like, okay, well, now what? And you felt like, well, I feel either guilty or I don't want to share with people who aren't at that next step in their journey yet. So people are
Mhm.
feeling uncomfortable, or just wanting to be careful or cautious to not
Yeah.
affect other people, because we all have gone through such struggle to get to the pregnancy phase that we all know how painful it can be for other people to see that next step. So
Yeah.
I then the waiting game, which was for people who had just recently gotten pregnant and through their journey until hopefully a viable birth. And then I started the 4th trimester for people who went through them all, had the baby, and then now we're like, oh wait, what the fuck do I do? Because I have a baby. And now I was always focused on was getting pregnant, staying pregnant, and now what? So there's a bunch of different groups. People request sometimes different things, and I say, you know what, if it's not out there and I can help support,
Yeah. Well, it's so needed. And let's like take us back to 2015 when you started your fertility journey.
Yep. So my mother had 5 or 6 miscarriages before, in between me being born. So I knew there was a likelihood, and my grandmother before her also had challenges. So I knew that there could be some genetic predisposition to this. So as we all know who have been through this journey, they all say, try for a year. And if you're not pregnant in a year, we'll revisit then. I was like, nah, that's not, I'm a Jew from New York. That is not how we work. We get things done. So as soon as I found out that there was a chance I was going to have, first of all, I never wanted kids. I was like, kids are
never, okay, that's important to know. You never wanted kids. You're like, no.
I didn't. It was not for me. I was like, let me travel. Let me spend my own money. Let me live life. And then I met Nathan, my husband, and I was like, oh, now I get why people want to have babies. Sometimes it's about a person and a unit, creating this person with this person that they adore. And that's how it happened for me. And then even more so, when I was told I couldn't have a pregnancy, I was like, that's not how this is going to work out. And I took matters into my own hands. And I was like, I get to control my body. Nobody else gets to tell me what's going to happen with my body. So
what was the reason for why they said you couldn't, and who told you that?
That's a really good question. So when I went for the HSG, they told me that one fallopian tube wasn't working. So I was, as we know, I was 35 years old. So that made me geriatric.
Oh yeah. 35. You're over 35. Geriatric. Oh my God. Let's get rid of these terms.
Yep. Put it on right away. I'm really too old to have babies. So they told me at least, so every other month that side wasn't going to work. So I was already cut down to 1, and I was 35, which your eggs are, I mean, we can call it what it is. We can get rid of geriatric, but the fact of the matter is you're born with all your eggs. And then every month that you get rid of them, you have fewer and fewer. So the likelihood as you get older, unfortunately, is that you are limited. So once I was told that, I didn't want to waste any more time waiting for my body to naturally figure it out. So I had the HSG. It was terrible. I was told I couldn't, at least on one side and every month. So they recommended that I go for treatment immediately, or at least a consultation, or to speak to somebody. So I looked into my insurance, found out what places took my insurance. I at first was going to go to, I think, I don't even remember. It was a very big clinic. And then 2 different friends got pregnant from New Hope, which was a smaller clinic. And they did at the time more on mini IVF, which I'll get into in a minute. And I was like, you know what? It worked for them. My insurance covers it. Why don't I go? So I went there.
Who was your doctor? Did you have one doctor or multiple doctors?
So I can only speak to my experience here, but it was very interesting. So I met with Dr. Zhang, the creator of New Hope, who came from, there was kind of a group of people who came, and then they spread out and started in the city, different clinics. But he started New Hope, and I met with him once. He speaks English, but he has a very strong accent. So he actually had somebody else in the room trying to explain some things because there were certain things I didn't understand. And that was actually the last time I saw him sitting behind a desk. I might have seen him in the hall from time to time where he's like, this is what we're doing. And then that was it. It was not a personal experience. The intention is to get you pregnant. So their goal is what we all want, but there was no coddling. There was no hand holding. All nurses sent the information via like code through email. And I was like, what are we talking about here?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Somebody can relate to this.
Yes, exactly. So it wasn't an amazing experience, but they did get me pregnant and kept me pregnant twice. And I have all 3 babies from one retrieval of 6 eggs total. So I have to say, whether it was my body, my eggs, their protocol, I don't know, but it worked for me. So it's for a certain type of person to be able to go through that experience. But we all struggle, and we all figure out what we can handle, what we can't handle. Would I have liked a little more explanation, understanding, as opposed to just getting thrown in and then direction? You take your shot tonight. You do this at 2 a.m. You do this at 1 a.m. Tomorrow you do this, and then that's it. It would have been nicer to have a little more support, but at the end of the day, I got what I wanted.
Well, that's part of why we create what we are doing now, right? We didn't have that support that we saw that was so desperately needed.
And thank God for you and your book, and thank God for your podcast, and thank God for this. People are able to speak to you and learn from you and help. And you're, though we had these heartbreaking journeys to get here, we have now been able to help so many people through their own journeys. So sometimes I think maybe it was why we had to go through what we went through, so other people don't.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know you otherwise, right? If we hadn't gone through this.
Yeah. And we've met a million other people too who have gone through this, who struggled, and it was heartbreaking, but at the end of our day, we created something beautiful out of it.
For sure. Well, let's talk about so you did do an IUI. I think you did that right before IVF.
So the first month they said do timed intercourse. So we did have a protocol before IVF. So first month was timed intercourse without medicine. Second month was timed intercourse with medicine. Third was IUI, and none of those worked. And a lot of doctors will say after an HSG, it is the most likely time you will get pregnant, because your tubes have been flushed with this like blue coloring iodine thing. You're totally rinsed out. So if you're able to get pregnant naturally, they say often that is when it can happen. And so I tried for 3 months right after that, and I still didn't. So that led me to believe that they were right when they said it was likely I would not naturally be able to get pregnant. So I followed their 3-month rule, did what I needed to do, felt crazy on meds. And then I was like, all right, time to get the show on the road. And that's when we entered into the phase of IVF.
And the meds you said affected you pretty strongly?
I vividly remember being at a bar or a restaurant outside in the city. It was a friend's birthday from work, and we were all sitting outside, and I just felt like lightheaded and trippy and not myself. And like, I got to get out of here right now. I was
my gosh.
sad and depressed and blah. And it just makes you, it really fucks with you, which, I mean, it's hormones. It all, and it's so compounded with everything else that you're emotionally already going through. So I would get off of those, but then, as you know, there's a bajillion other meds that you end up being on.
For sure.
So you one onto the other.
Yeah. So you started, that's really interesting. So you only had one egg retrieval, which you got 5 became blasts. Is that right?
Yep. So
5 became blasts.
Started immediately. 5 went to blast. I did a fresh transfer of 2 of the 2 best embryos, and one of those stuck. And that is my now 7-year-old Harper. I banked the other 3 at the time, with no real intention. At first I wanted no kids, and then I said, okay, we'll have 1, and that will be enough. That's all we want. That's all we need. If we can actually get to that phase of life, that point, I will feel fulfilled. And as we know, man plans, God laughs, so things did not quite end up that way. But yes, I had 1 from that 1 egg retrieval. And then a year later, on Harper was due on January 20th. She ended up coming a few weeks early, so her birthday was January 6th. But on the day before, what would have been her first birthday was January 19th, which was the
transfer day. That is so magical. So, oh my goodness. Okay, so you froze the other 3, and you transferred 2?
With Harper, I transferred 2, and 1 stuck. So I don't know if the other one ever, by the time I got into an ultrasound, there was only 1 heartbeat, only 1 embryo that stuck. So I don't know if it got absorbed. I don't know if nothing ever happened. I don't know.
How was that for you when you found out that only 1 stuck?
You know, some people get very emotional when they lose or when they've lost what could be a baby. I think in the moment, I was just so elated that 1 stuck after being told that it was never going to happen for me. That I had a pregnancy at all was incredible. So instead of focusing on, oh my God, I only have 1 out of the 2, I focus on, oh my God, this worked.
Yeah, this worked. Yeah.
And the irony is that later, when we decided to transfer the next 2, in my mind, I was like, oh, well, last time we transferred 2 and 1 stuck. So clearly that's what's going to happen as well.
And what happened?
Later, that is not exactly the route my took. But so I transferred Harper. I had 1. She was born January 6th, 2016. And then literally like 5 days later, I turned to Nathan and I was like, I want to do this again. He's like, whoa, slow your roll. We are not having more babies right now. And I was like, we have to. I want to do it. Oh my God. He's like, it's the drugs, it's the meds, it's your hormones. We'll revisit this later. And like 3 weeks later, I was like, no, I really want to do this again. He's like, all right, well, we're still going to put a pin in that because you are, 3 weeks postpartum, lots going on.
Oh my gosh.
He was happy with 1. He would have been fine with 1.
3 weeks postpartum.
He was ready. I loved it. I was so, besides the breastfeeding and the nurse, I mean, that part was
Yeah.
really hard for me.
Yeah.
And the emotion, obviously, but having
Mhm.
a new baby, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And now I get it. Now it all makes sense why people are obsessed with babies. I get it now.
And did you have coverage for your second round too? Then for the 2 embryos, did you have?
So luckily so I actually had to wait. So I was ready to do it sooner, but that December 31st, our insurance changed and I had gone from $10,000 lifetime max to a $25,000 lifetime max, but I had to wait like 2 more months to do it because it over.
Wow.
So, and they were already banked. So it's not like I even had to do another retrieval. So all I had to cover was,
Yeah.
um, the transfer and the meds for all of that. But it was that second half or second round was covered, which was incredible.
Wow. And so you're 2 are the same age as my daughter,
Yep.
5.
So September 2017, they were born, mine were born.
Yeah.
And
Oh my gosh.
for the twins, I was breastfeeding Harper until she was 18 months old, and the twins came at 20 months when she was 20 months old. So I had three 20 months and under.
I remember following your story back then too. Like you were living in the city. Tell us about like you were in New York City, new mom, 3 little kids. How'd you do
Yeah,
that?
so when Harper was born, we were in a 1-bedroom apartment on 14th and Avenue A. And I was like, I have everything I want in life. This is perfect. She hosted with us for a year, so we didn't need a separate room. We had a crib sitting there for literally a year that was totally unused, and we didn't need it, which in that was better, but it was sitting there. And after a year, we said, we really could use some more space. So we moved into a 2-bedroom about 2 weeks before we found out that we were pregnant with twins.
Oh, wow.
So we were in a bedroom, which was a little bit bigger, but not by much. I mean, but outside of New York City, that would probably be a lot more spacious, but like 50 more square feet in the city. So we ended up having the twins in a 2-bedroom apartment in the same community that we were living in Stuytown, Peter Cooper Village in the city. And the twins came in September, and we were in an apartment, and we had not even been there for a year, and we found out that somehow they had never insulated the wall that we were in the bedroom, and so there was ice inside our window.
Oh my gosh.
So I ended up escalating it, and they moved us to a different 2-bedroom that was much bigger with a second bedroom. Granted, it was $1,000 more a month, so it's not like they were so generously moving us, but we were able to get out of our lease and move to a slightly bigger 1,100 square foot apartment in the city with 3 kids, 1 dog, and 1 cat.
I'm sure you look back because that was all during COVID too. I mean, like 2.5-year-olds with a 5-year-old maybe then, and you're just like juggling life, but you wouldn't trade it for the world.
Well, we were in the city with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Harper was 4, the twins were 2 years
Mm-hmm.
old, 2.5 when COVID hit. And that was so I had started my practice. It's conceivable where I was supporting women along their fertility journey, motherhood through motherhood. I was a doula. I was a postpartum doula. I was helping people through their medical journey, their insurance journey, every aspect of getting pregnant, staying pregnant, having a new baby. And it was incredible and wonderful. And I will never trade that work and the people that I touched and helped during that time. Unfortunately, when COVID hit, it was 5 of us and 2 animals in this 1,100 square foot apartment. And Nathan was working from home exclusively, and I wasn't going into hospitals, I wasn't going to people's homes, and the kids were out of daycare. So it was all of us in one space. And so we realized pretty quickly that that was not sustainable. And again, at the time, none of us knew how long COVID was going to last. We figured it would be weeks. My parents had a place on the Upper East Side, and they were living there, but they also had a country house in the Hudson Valley. And I was living up there in a house nearby, and she said, why don't you come up to mom and dad's empty house and just sit out COVID while we can't do anything anyway, may as well have the space. And I was like, no, my community is here, it's the city, these are my people. I worked for Stuytown, I was running meetups for moms. I loved it there. Yes, it was tight and hard, but through my motherhood journey, I had gained so much perspective, so many connections, a new path for myself career-wise. But I had to think about my family and what was best for them. So I said, you know what, why don't we go up for a few weeks and then we'll come back. So we went up to my parents' house, literally put everybody in a car in their pajamas, packed like a suitcase of peanut butter and toilet paper and water at the time, because that's all we knew we needed. And we headed north. And my sister actually came into the city to pack her car, because again, we didn't know how long it was going to be. She came in and we all drove back together, and we never went back to the city after that. It was
Wow.
not intentional, but my husband's from the city originally, and when we ended up in this house and we had all this space and we had land and my parents had a pool and we got a playground for the kids and there was fresh air.
Mhm.
We realized that yes, our vision was one thing and we were on this path and that was incredible and our life in the city was amazing, but there is life outside of the apartment. There
Yeah.
is life outside New York City. There is, and not one isn't better or worse or right or wrong, just at that moment in time. Uh,
Yeah.
Nathan really wanted something different. And as much as I love Stuytown and love my life there, I realized that you got to try.
Mhm.
Nothing in life except death and taxes are permanent. You can always try and you can always return. So
Yeah.
and I actually started a Facebook group called Into the Unknown that is not fertility related, but within a few months, 15,000 people joined because so
Wow.
many other people were considering leaving the city as well.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember your story was picked up by the newspaper, right?
yeah,
By
I was in the New York Times a couple
the
times.
Times. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, it was just because people need help, people need support. There's not enough resources out there, and unless somebody creates something,
Yeah.
it doesn't exist.
Well, I love that about you, Rebekah. I mean, are you still doing a lot of work with It's Conceivable?
I have been considering reopening my practice here in Connecticut. I got
Okay.
licensed, so I am a practicing psychotherapist in Connecticut. Um, I can tell you this right now. I just got an offer. There is a first ever of its kind in this country postnatal retreat in New York City. It's called
Wow.
Forum, and they just offered me a position. So I will be going to the city a few times in a month and supporting brand new moms who just had a baby. They will go to this place. It's a hotel, and they will get lactation help. They will get help from therapists or social workers or nurses.
Wow.
Anybody that you would want at your beck and call if you just had a baby are there.
And
They
tell the name again one more time.
called Borum,
Or
Boram. The woman who started it, her name is Borum, and actually, I think it was started in Korea. They do this in Korea already, and her name is Korean, and it kind of just speaks to it. It was representing what they have already in Asia, but that's who she is. She started it here.
Wow.
So yeah, so I'm starting working in the city doing that a
Wow.
couple of times. I still have I have my job here. I work with kids in a school and teachers and staff and parents. And as much as I love that, I was really missing the part where I was supporting people going through fertility, new moms, expectant moms, and this is allowing me to revisit supporting people in the helping space around motherhood.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's conceivable on hold while I figure out what's next for this, because ultimately I think they want me for a leadership role when they open a new location. So I'm just going to kind of see what plays out in the coming months.
Congratulations. That's amazing. I
Yeah.
can relate. Our lives are parallel in some ways. Like I used to work in schools and you're kind of there now as I was not an occupational therapist.
Yeah.
And so just feeling into this and this passion that I have to support women on the fertility path. Like I love that you're getting back into it, and you've always been there, but like you're diving even more into it.
Yeah. And COVID was, for all of us, we were able to focus so much on our passion and what we want to do. And some of us had to find what worked either for convenience or take a different path. And I was home with my kids for 18 months. I wasn't working, I wasn't practicing. They weren't in school. They were home with me for 18 months. And that was what I did at that time, because that's what I needed to. And that's what my family needed. That is time for me to reimagine, reframe, refocus for me and what I want. And that matters just as much as what my kids needed at that time. It's what do I need and how can I help people best? And this is one way.
Well, let's talk about women on the journey right now, because you and I know it very well. And it was such a joy to lead a talk with you back. When was that? 2020?
Yeah, it was right during COVID time. It was supposed to be in person for
fertility rally. Shout out to them, Allie and Blair. And we led a group all about a topic, a seminar all about letting that shit go.
Did, and it was awesome, and we need to.
It's so fun. Yeah. Like what are some things that come to mind as women who are tuning in and listening and they hear that, right? Let that shit go. But like, really, like, how did you do that? And why do you feel like this is kind of important as we're moving through this path?
So I'm going to speak openly and honestly about my path, and I'm not suggesting that it works for everybody. It doesn't, but it did for me. because I am not great with structure and routine. I'm way too ADD to actually focus on something I need to do. So all the things you're not supposed to eat because they're inflammatory, all the things you're not supposed to do because it might fuck whatever it is. I just didn't listen to any of it. And I did, after my first transfer, I went out to karaoke and was drinking. I drank margaritas during the twin pregnancy. I did what I needed to do. Everybody's healthy. Everybody is fine. I had amazing doctors who told me that everything in moderation is okay. I was like, but no hot dogs, right? Because and they're like, no, have a hot dog. I was like, but no sushi, right? They're like, just don't get it at Rite Aid. Like everything, they were like, do you. So this was me. This was I just let that shit go. I did what I needed to do. I had to keep peace with my brain and my heart and my soul. And I knew if I was going to limit myself because certain books say certain things or science says certain things, then I wasn't going to be in tune or in touch with my body, and my body needed me to be me. Being me is a little bit crazy, a little bit out there, a little bit not following the rules, definitely out of the box. And it worked for me. I don't work for anybody else. Again, I'm not suggesting to throw science and medical journals out the window because there's real merit, obviously, in a lot of these things. But for me, it was not going to work. And I had to just do what was going to work for me. And it did both times.
Well, there's a big part of that living life. You were just living your life.
I was
Not depriving yourself. Like you shared with me, you got drunk after your first transfer. When did karaoke?
It was great. And I had a wonderul time. And, listen,
I'm not promoting this, but it's like, again,
I'm not saying it works for everybody or your doctor's going to say you should. But at the end of my pregnancy, my doctor was like, you should be having a glass of wine a night, red wine a night, because you need to let your body relax and release. And so I was like, cool, it is time. I need that red wine. And I think that you just need to get people on your team that support what you need or help you figure out what it is that will best serve you. I found that and it worked for me again, but I think it really does matter. I think there's type A personality, there's type B personality, different personalities need different things. And I'm sure there's type, A quad. That's all gray. There's no black and white. This is such a gray area. Pregnancy is a gray area. How to get pregnant, how to stay pregnant. We can't control almost anything. And that is really hard for a lot of people who are going through fertility challenges, especially because I would say up until pretty recently, actually, it was kind of word on the street that, okay, maybe nothing else worked, but once you do IVF, that will get you pregnant. You know that is not the case. And that's what we hope. That's what we want. And often it's a last resort, but it doesn't actually mean it's going to work. And I think, I don't want to pretend that there weren't times that I was out of my mind crazy. I woke up one morning covered in blood and I was like, oh my God, I just miscarried. And I was certain that I did. I was heaving and crying and Nathan was having to hold me up, and the doctor was like, you're probably fine, but if you want to come in. And it was a hematoma, which was unfortunate. And I had it for the majority of my pregnancy and I bled a lot. And that was terrifying.
Was that the second with your twins or with Harper?
I didn't have it with the twins at all. It was only with Harper.
Oh, I had a mini one, a small one. Just that blood freaks you out. I mean,
is what you think.
You had it throughout your pregnancy. You're bleeding a lot?
Not to that. I woke up and it was like, it was just like a circle this big and it was under, and I was like, oh,
wow. Yeah.
But I went right in and we saw the heartbeat and at that point, now I'm going to do everything that we're supposed to do. Like, I'm not going to eat the deli meat and I'm not going to, but again, that for like a day, I didn't eat the deli meat. And then I had my ham sandwich the next day. And
I just love you keep it so real. I love this.
And it's the reality. And like I said, for some people, they need to follow it by book, rule, everything.
Yeah.
That doesn't work always either. So that's why ultimately you have to just figure out how you are going to manage the process, because it can be a long one. Some of us have been in this for 10 years longer. Eventually you just have to say, okay. And I think, the mind body connection is very, very real.
I'm glad you're touching upon that. You're leading me into that topic.
Yeah. I think, there's Western medicine and there's Eastern medicine, and being from where we are, a lot of people just say, okay, the doctor said this is what I have to do. But as you and I both know, there is real merit, deep merit in not just the medical side of things.
For sure.
And I think that the amount of people that I know that went through fertility treatments to get pregnant the first time, and then they had sex with their husbands 9 months later, 6 months later, 3 months later, and they got pregnant and had a healthy baby with no support, no help, no acupuncture, no pineapples, no McDonald's French fries. They got, sometimes it just happens. And sometimes when people take a break after 10 years and they just say, you know what, I can't do it anymore, they get pregnant. It's spontaneously. And then there is acupuncture and there is different things that you can do from the Eastern side. So it's really about what you're willing to try, what you're willing to endure, and what you learn from people. And I think like my first round, I didn't know anything because I had no support. So I listened to the doctor. I did what they said, basically. I didn't even know about the pineapple and the French fries until the twins. So I did it for them.
Which is not even a thing, actually. My doctor debunked all that stuff, which that's another talk.
Well, that's the thing, is that there's nothing that's officially going to get you pregnant. So eat their French fries because it makes them feel like, okay, women before me for however long have been doing it and they get pregnant and it works. They can say, oh my God, for me, that's what worked. Exactly. But it doesn't mean it's actually right. There's no medical journal saying any of these things work or don't work, but you feel like it's going to support you and your journey, then why the fuck not?
With the mind-body connection, I want to talk about this because that is something that isn't within our power, that we can focus on, that's within our control. The thoughts we're thinking, the approach, the attitude, how we're showing up to this, how, like, you made a choice in how you were going to live your life. Like, I'm throwing the diet out the window. That's a choice. That was something you could control, going out and having fun. So I do want to help empower women too, to realize like there's a lot within them that they can kind of take their power back and choose how they want to live life through this whole process, you know?
Exactly. I would say when I had my clients, when I was running It's Conceivable, what I would always talk about, because usually people came to me when they were like, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm lost. I wasn't calling myself a therapist. I wasn't calling myself a coach. I was calling myself a friend who could guide you through the process. Because I would say, you know, this is everybody's journey is their own. It's a choose your own adventure. Take from life what you need. But every conversation, every client I worked with, it would always come to, what joy do you still have in your life? What are you lacking? What do you not do anymore? What can I help you do? Do you want to can we go to a yoga class? I'll go with you to yoga class. Do you want to go ballroom dancing with your spouse? Would that make you happy? What will make you happy? Because so many people have been focused on, okay, we need to have sex at this time, at this moment, quickly. And you lose the romance and you lose and I have to take a shot at the exact same time, the exact same place. And then you also lose the opportunity to go out for drinks with friends or so there's so much that we lose control over. And there's so much joy has been sucked out of our lives at that time. And because mind-body connection matters so much, I would always try to work with each person to say, what is something you used to do that you loved? Maybe it was your first kid, or before you started this journey at all, or before you got married, or what in the city and wherever you live, what was something that you loved doing? Was it taking a walk to the corner and having the guy get your order that, you know, I'll have the regular? Is that something you do? No, go get that bagel. Go just this week for the next 4 Saturdays in a row. Do what you did every Saturday morning. Reclaim what was once yours, what made you feel like you and happy and content. Or go do something crazy. Go jump out of a plane. Go bungee jumping. Do something that's out of your comfort zone and put yourself back into the world of adrenaline that's going to get you going, as opposed to just being like, this is life right now and it sucks and I don't have I think it matters a lot. And I'm not, what I always say is, I'm not guaranteeing this is going to get you pregnant, but I am going to guarantee you're going to feel better about yourself again.
100%.
Do that and find that joy.
This is it. This is like the message. If anyone's listening to this, just to like take a piece of this and really go within and decide like, okay, I'm going to do something for me. Like, what lights me up? What brings me joy? And as you know, in the book, I write about all about that. Like, don't put your life on hold.
Exactly.
Like, pull out those activities you used to love to do as a kid. And we just forget, like, often who we are, right? On this path. It's like, become so disconnected from ourselves.
There's nothing else. It's so, you become almost narcissistic, almost egocentric. All you can do is focus on you and getting pregnant. There's nothing else. You get these blinders on and you miss out on everything going on around you. That's not to say that if your friend is having a baby shower and you can't do it, don't fucking go. You know, I know we talked about this during our fertility rally. You have to protect your heart too. If something makes you sad, upset, if something is going to put your headspace in a place you don't want to be, you do not owe anybody anything. You have to do it for you. And you can be in that, you can mourn sometimes, you can live in that discomfort for a while, but you also need to get yourself out. And if you want to skip that baby shower, skip the baby shower, but go get a massage, or go to the Russian baths and sweat it all out, or have a drink with a friend that you haven't seen in a while. Do something to protect your heart, but also to release your mind and bring yourself back to you.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I just think it's like, you said it, you don't have to share your journey with everybody. You don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't have to be everywhere. It's like, no, like it's the last thing you want to do, really. I mean, showing up, moving forward through this path, it's like the more you push it and force and like have to do this, have to do that. It's like honestly pushing it further away, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I think you have to embrace it, feel it, live it, and then figure out how you can still be you through this journey. There will be some limitations and some restrictions, but still, how can you stay true to you and enjoy the ride? Because there is a chance you won't get pregnant. I mean, that is the truth, and our truth, and it's a terrible truth. But anytime I spoke to a client, I would say that, I'm not here to sugarcoat this just because we're talking, or just because you've had, we don't know. We just don't know. So knowing that you do not know the outcome, life is too short to miss so much. So do what you can to still enjoy the ride while it, because you don't 10, 15, 20 years later and be like, so what just happened? Where'd I go?
I always say this is a chapter of our lives. It's a chapter, it's a season. It's not the whole book.
Exactly. And you're going to turn the page eventually. And
exactly,
a beautiful new beginning. There might be a devastating ending. We don't know. We have no control over that. But you can enjoy yourself as much as possible during the ride.
And just some of your personal practices, like were you open and sharing with a lot of people? Were you more like you and Nathan, more private along your path?
No, I was always very open from the beginning. During the first pregnancy, because it was a new journey for me, and I didn't, it was always like, you don't tell anybody until you're 12 weeks, because oftentimes people miscarry. So for Harper, I waited until I was 12 weeks.
Yeah.
But the twins, I was like, you know what? If I do miscarry, then I want people to know that is normal and it's devastating. And wouldn't I want support if I lost a pregnancy? So for the twins, the second I got pregnant, I was like, I'm pregnant for now. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it looks like. I'm pregnant. And I work with a lot of people now through Warriors. Not really, it's conceivable because I'm not working as a business right now. But I say, each person has to do their own thing. Some people don't want to share because they want to keep it between them. Some people, I was open with everything, but some people in my donor don't want to share that they're using donor eggs because either they or their spouse aren't comfortable with that. Some people don't want to share that they're using a surrogate. Some people don't want to share that they've struggled. Some people don't want to share that they're pregnant until 12, 13 weeks. And everybody's got to do whatever feels right for them.
Yes.
For me, I realized that the more support, the more I helped the narrative. I helped shape people learning and understanding that we get pregnant. Some of us stay pregnant. Some of us don't. Some of us have devastating endings with a stillbirth. Some of us make it to 35 weeks and the cord, there's so many of the story. And the more people talk about them, the more people are comfortable sharing that, the more education there is out there for people to know, for people to learn, for people to be aware of. I have a few women who had babies to stillbirth, and they started an organization called Push, and it's educating people about what they should be looking for, what they need to be prepared for. And if they were vocal, if they didn't create this organization, who knows how many more situations there would be because those people weren't educated, because most doctors aren't teaching about things like this. Fortunately, we have to help each other. Not unfortunately. Well, yeah, unfortunately, we shouldn't be the ones having to, but we are.
Right.
To me, it's our job to help the next generation of working people understand what this all could look like.
Oh my gosh. What you've created is so special. Like I'll list all of your groups, and I want to meet you in person one day. It's like, I feel so connected. We've never met.
I know, it has to happen. It has to happen. We'll find our way.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm just honored to have this chat with you. You're so sweet and just so real. I just love
I think it's so much better to be. I could never, there's certain times in life that I get, because I have so many Facebook groups and because I have so many networks and because I have so many connections. Some people really don't like me. Some people really, really don't like me. And at first I took it really personal. Like, why, how could I offend this person? What did I do? But the fact of the matter is I am real. I am super opinionated. I do not hide from anything or anyone, and I put it all out there. And that doesn't resonate with everybody. Some people do need more of a shield. Some people do need to feel more protected. I'm vulnerable and I'm out there and I share a lot. And that isn't for everybody. And I think that we have to learn, and this isn't necessarily for fertility, but it's in general, that we're not for everyone. We can't take that personally, because we don't love everybody either. Everybody isn't for us either, and that's okay. That's 8 billion people out there. We're gonna find our people, and that's okay.
I love you. Like, take it or leave it. This is me, and this is why I reached out to you. I'm like, Rebekah, we need to have a chat together. You need to be on my podcast.
I love it. I'm so
my
glad.
gosh. Yes, you're amazing. And your website, do you want to give us, I'll link it all, but do you want to give, if people have questions, they want to connect with you, how can they do that?
It's Conceivable is still up and running, and eventually I will be taking clients again. I'm slowly figuring out how to do that with my different roles as mom, chauffeur, snack bitch, all of those things on top of
Wait a minute. You just said
right? I mean, Mom, I need goldfish. Mom, I need a cheese stick. All right, that's cool. Whatever.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
My website is it's-conceivable.com. And all of my groups are there, and my support is there, and my offers are there, and my Facebook groups all live there as well. I think my blog is still up there, though I haven't updated that in a while because life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm always available to talk and help people.
Amazing.
Whatever way that they need it.
You're so great. Any final little word, last thought, quote, anything you want to share for anyone on this path that just like needs a little bit of extra love today?
Yeah, I mean, it's really fucking hard. There's no question about that. There's no shielding that. That is the truth of the matter. It's emotionally exhausting. It's physically exhausting. You can lose your relationship. You can lose yourself. You can lose your marriage. And my recommendation is really stay true to yourself. And if you find yourself drowning, if you find yourself overwhelmed, reconnect with the person you used to be, reconnect with the people you love, reconnect with the people who love you, and reinvigorate all of those relationships and the marriages the ones that you feel like you need to hold on to, because you do need support through this journey, and you should not be doing it alone. I know a lot of people, like we talk about, do try to keep it closer to the vest, and that is for some people privacy, what some people need. But I would say, if you can find people who you can talk to and find comfort in, and know that they will hold the space that you need and keep your story, find them and hold them tight and talk to them, because this is not a journey you should be on alone. The more people that can support you, in my personal opinion, the better.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Love you.
Wonderful chatting. Love you.
Love you.